Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this conversation now. US President Donald Trump has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. He was speaking at the United Nations General Assembly in New York today. Trump criticizing Hamas for rejecting peace efforts and warned that recognizing a Palestinian state would amount to rewarding terrorism. Let's take a listen.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire.
He also called for the release of all remaining Israeli hostages and for the return of the bodies.
As we have got to come together, and we will come together, got to get it done. We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate, immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3. Have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too.
Well, let's take the conversation further. International relations expert, Professor John Stremlau, joining us now for some analysis of what we have just heard. Professor, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Recognizing a Palestinian state would be tantamount to rewarding terrorism on the back of several countries, including a number of them in Europe that have now said that they are officially recognizing an independent Palestinian state. What do you make of President Trump's speech today?
Well, that's an easy question. It was nonsense, and it's a reprise of his past speeches that have rambled and not had any strategy at the heart of them. And he doesn't, he says, let's end the wars, but he doesn't give any indication of how he plans to do that. And he has failed miserably in promoting peace, despite the fact that he claims he is the great peacemaker and wants a Nobel Prize. But I think he questioned the purposes of the United Nations, but I'm more sensitive to Gutierrez's need for financing the UN, and it's an imperfect body, but it is the meeting place that all nations are welcome to, and it is the little that we have, but I think it's going to have to be without Trump.
I wonder, Professor, what you made of the countries that have stood up in that platform and said they are recognizing the Palestinian state. And those include some of the closest allies of not only Israel, but indeed the United States. The UK, for example, is among those countries. What does this tell us in terms of international diplomacy? Where are we right now? Are we headed to a diplomatic stalemate, particularly on the Israeli-Gaza war?
Well, you'd have to ask Bibi Netanyahu about that, because he seems to be determined to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of their territory. That should be a two-state solution. But you know, I can wax on about that, but it's the fact that Trump is missing in action, and the Bibi Netanyahu is running with the ball, and it is a terrible, terrible conflict, as South Africans know and have done what they can in identifying the plausible genocide that is going on in Gaza. And the international community is alienated from Israel. And the cover story of The Economist that just arrived today out here this week is saying that the U.S.-Israeli relationship won't be the same after this period. And it could, because the majority of Americans are outraged by the killings in Gaza, as well as the rest of the world, but it's a function of a sovereign state backed by the U.S. And the same goes for Ukraine. Ukraine with a Security Council member having invaded it. So the UN is in deep, deep trouble. And I don't think that it's nice to see the recognitions, but I don't think that it's going to make a whit of difference in the short term. And the long term is anyone's guess, but the short term is that the Palestinian people are suffering badly.
Yeah. And there's so many questions around exactly what you've just said, Professor, that recognizing an independent Palestinian state is one thing, but right now there are pressing matters about the plight of the people of Palestine, particularly the ones in Gaza. We can't divorce South Africa from this equation. The Ramaphosa administration, quick off the mark to the ICJ to say there is genocidal intent here that is being pursued by Israel. There are suggestions that have been made to say this might produce something of a Cold War between South Africa and the US. What do you think those relations are going to be like now?
Well, I haven't seen any change in the February 7th addressing egregious actions by the Republic of South Africa, Donald Trump's 506-word executive order that welcomed the Afrikaners to migrate to the white Afrikaners to migrate to the privileged Afrikaners to migrate to the United States. And he's throwing out people of color left, right, and center. He is make America great again guy that is going back to the old apartheid days of the U.S. And that's just the reality. He's a racist and he's cruel, and the U.S. has got to get over it. And I hope that South Africa can cope in the short term. But I applaud the efforts to engage Trump and the U.S. administration, because after all, there are 605 businesses that are operating here from the U.S. But it's a shame that South African economy, but South Africa has many friends in the world, and it's going to have to use them. And I just despair that the U.S. is succeeding the G20 meeting here in 2025, and we'll trim that back in 2026. But it is what it is.
Let's round up the conversation, Professor, and talk about what Trump appears to be doing, and that is crediting himself for, as he claims, resolving several wars in a number of countries. Should he be believed? Where is the proof of all of this credit that he seems to...
I've long since given up believing anything that the man says. and he is likely to be treated by historians very badly. But at the moment, we just have to. The U.S. is in crisis, and it's polarized, and it's going to have to work itself out. And meanwhile, the South African government is taking it on the chin because of the cutbacks in foreign assistance. And it's Glenda Gray has written eloquently about the hardship that HIV AIDS patients, and it's just despicable. But I'm embarrassed to say it's going to have to be for South Africa to press on with its other friends in the international community, of which it's got many, and do the best they can, and under this very difficult circumstance.
Professor John Stremlau, thank you very much for your time and analysis tonight.